Okay, thanks, Shelby. Just so we all know what's going on, I'll say a few things. I have a few announcements about what's been going on at the state level, and then I'll turn it over to Cindy, and she can give us an update on what's going on in Washington and how they got it passed, and how they're going to now what their next steps are and what worked for them. And then I do want to have a fairly long period of time at the end of the meeting, to ask Cindy any questions that you might have, but also then to open it up for your questions, comments, or concerns, and also kind of report in on what you're up to. We're at a stage now where we really need to start kicking it into high gear, and I just kind of want to have a brainstorming session with everybody on the call. What are you doing, and what are your plans to get to our numbers that we need to get to? So we'll get to that in a few minutes. So basically, I just wanted to start off by saying the latest numbers we have about 10,000 signatures. We need about 38,000 verified signatures that we know are good signatures to be on the ballot. We have about a quarter of that in hand. We think that most of those 10,000 almost all 10,000 are good. We have more than 10,000 signatures actually, but we are confident that 10,000 are registered voters who will count eventually. But we want to get to 50,000, so we're about 20% of the way there. And those are a big number. 10,000 is a big number. We should be proud of the fact we've gotten 10,000, but we need to start picking up the pace. We only have 8 months left to do this. We have the good weather now approaching. Spring's here, and summer's a great time to get this work done, but we need to get the pace picked up quickly. So I do want you to think about what is going on in your counties, and when we get to the latter part of the meeting, I want you to weigh in and let us know what it is you're up to in your counties, and we'll discuss our plans and how to make it happen. But also ask us questions. What do you want? What kind of help can we get you from the state level to make this happen? So a couple of quick updates from the steering committee, and Cindy, you can kind of listen in to see what we're up to and then compare it to what you've already done. I want to let everybody know that we did have our legislative outreach meeting in Cheyenne on February 20th. It went very well. We got to chat with a number of legislators and got some good ideas, one of which was to try and get our Act to Promote Free and Fair Elections chosen as an interim topic for the Corporations Committee. The way bills get through the legislature, the committees each select a number of bills to study over the summer during the interim session, and those are the bills that when they get worked up over the summer and presented, they're the ones that pass in the session. So we made an effort. Shelby testified in front of the Corporations Committee. We had several legislators actually vote for our topic, but they only picked the top 5, and we weren't ranked in the top 5, so our bill is not an interim topic. That doesn't mean we're done. We're going to try again in January when they return for the next session. And we had 10,000 signatures behind us this time. That didn't get their attention. So now it's time to try and get to 50,000 signatures. Maybe they'll notice us then. I also wanted to let Scully say a few things. Scully, I'm going to unmute you. Scully is Manda has changed their name to Scully and is transitioning into a new role with the campaign. Scully, do you want to say anything about your new role?
Sure. So I have realized that I am not a good face of things. I can help with organization and such, but my strong suit is actually data management. So from here on out, I'm going to be taking on more of that task of like training people who are interested in data management, training specifically for entering signatures in so we have a clear record of who we have, because we talk about the 10,000 signatures that we currently have, and I'm willing to bet a large sum of money that we have a lot more signatures out there that just haven't been entered into data yet. So I'm going to be trying as much as possible to help increase our efficiency there and make sure that we have a valid, solid track of who all has actually signed. And then I can also help with things like cutting turfs, which is the term that we use for creating canvas walk lists for people to go door to door and knock on people's doors, because we have been talking a lot about events and things over the summer, but in talking with Chris Bell, who's one of the people who we are in communication with through Ella Wyoming, which is the people who have we have a subscription with them, and they're the people that give us access to the databases and things that we need to keep track of records. So they've been doing a lot of different campaigns, political and otherwise, and from their experience, they suggest that the best way to get this done is through canvassing. And I know that doesn't sound like super appealing, but we actually have a campaign calculator that I've been working on a little bit and trying to figure out numbers. And to summarize a lot of different theorizations and tracks of other people's campaigns, successful or otherwise, we have to put a lot of hours into canvassing. That would be one of the best ways that we can do this. So I can help with running those numbers, and I can help with data management and data entry and creating turf lists for people, and also just as a go-between for people who have questions. I'm still available to answer any as I can. So I'm just doing that side of things more. I'll still be doing the updated weekly numbers to tell us how close we are to our goal, including the update on the party affiliation stuff, because I do think it is valuable for us to know exactly where those party lines lie. And this week we're still falling within the same area of we still have over 500 Republicans who have signed in comparison to Democrats. So we have our numbers. We're nonpartisan, we're cross-partisan, but we also do have a little bit of a Wyoming lean toward the Republican Party. So I want to put that out there. And yeah, that's all I have to say for now. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Scully. And the flip side of that, or the other side of that coin, is that we are looking for another part-time field organizer who can help us with the more public-facing things like recruiting volunteers and setting up events and those kinds of public things. We have some ideas of people that we haven't yet been able to tie down, but if you're on the call and you know somebody who's looking for some part-time work this summer, who might be good at event planning, event organization, helping to recruit canvassers and those kinds of things, let us know, and we'll be happy to talk with them. The person does not need to live in Laramie. They can live really anywhere. So if you have any ideas, let us know. Okay, just a couple more quick announcements, and then we'll turn it over to Cindy. First, we're still working on a list of current and former public officials or candidates who are currently running who support the effort of overturning Citizens United. We do want to put that list on our website soon, but we don't want to put it up there until we have a critical mass of people, both Democrats and Republicans. We don't want this to look like it's only Democrats that want this, because it isn't. Both parties do want this. I have noticed that a number of the campaigns that are getting started right now, I've seen 3 or 4 of them that put this as the top of their issues. They are running because big money has taken over Congress or has taken over the state legislature, and they're running on small donations, and that's a big, big issue for a number of the candidates out there right now. This seems to be a winning strategy, or at least the candidates think this is a winning strategy. So we want to give them all an opportunity to say, with their permission, of course, on our website that they support the efforts to overturn Citizens United. And so if you know of a candidate that wants to be on the list, please talk to your candidates, talk to your legislators, ask them if they want to be listed on our website, and we're happy to put that up there. We will have that list up soon. We're not going to know until the end of May who the complete list of candidates are, and when we have that list, we'll email them all and ask them for permission to list them on our site. But we won't. If we can get the page up before that, that would be better. Next, I want to just let everybody know that the major thing that the Central Steering Committee is doing right now is just increasing public awareness and doing publicity things. We have now 2 events, and I'm going to actually ask Lynn to say something here in a second. Lynn just joined the call. We have two events now involving Senator Al Simpson speaking live. We've been working for some time in Sheridan. He's going to be driving over to Sheridan. He has some family there, and he's going to be doing a public event on May 17th in Sheridan that we're going to hopefully live stream so we can organize in your counties. We can maybe organize a watch party, get a bunch of people together and watch the event live. And we're working on setting that up. But just this morning, and here I'm going to unmute Lynn Morrison. Lynn's a member of our steering committee and one of the committee of applicants as well. There's apparently it looks like we're going to have a event in Cody on April 19th. Lynn, you want to say something about that real quick?
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, everyone. Senator Simpson will be part of a panel discussion that will include Ken and will also include Jeff Clements, who heads up American Promise, the nationwide organization. So the way this is being organized is that there'll be a panel discussion. Each one will talk about their involvement in this effort for free and fair elections in the state, and also Jeff Clements will give a perspective about what's going on throughout the country, and I'll be moderating that, and then we'll take questions from the audience. Right now, tentatively planned for between 6 to 8 p.m. on Thursday, April the 19th. I'm still working on venues, and so more later. It's very exciting.
Yes, thank you. American Promise has decided to give an award to Senator Simpson. They had planned for all of his. He's been working on this issue for years, and he's on the American Promise board, and they wanted to give him an award. They were going to give the award to him at the national convention that they're planning in June, but he was unable to be there, so Jeff Clements decided that he can come to Cody and deliver the award in person to Senator Simpson at this event on April 19th. They're hopefully going to be able to videotape that and play the videotape of the award ceremony during the national event in Washington, D.C. So that's kind of the plan, and that's the next thing I wanted to mention is that American Promise is planning a national leadership conference for June 22nd through 25th in Washington, D.C. Several members of the steering committee are planning to go. I think Shelby and Lynn and I are all probably going to be able to go, and maybe we can get Scully or some of the other people along to go with us. But if any of you on the call want to join us in Washington, D.C., I think we're going to get some national attention because of what we're doing. I know that Jeff is very impressive with our efforts so far. So it'd be great to have a big contingent of Wyoming volunteers out there to spread the word about what we're doing, maybe do some fundraising while we're there because we're always running on a shoestring. So if you're interested in attending the national convention in D.C., let us know. And then one last thing before I turn it over to Cindy, a little bit of good news, and this kind of goes along with what Cindy's going to be talking about here in a second. Another group affiliated with American Promise in Maryland is getting some success. They don't have an initiative procedure. They can't do anything by ballot initiative or citizen initiative. So they're working through the state legislature. A couple of years ago, they got a bill through the state Senate that called for an Article 5 convention of states to overturn Citizens United. It died in the House. They've always thought that the House in Maryland was the harder of the two bodies to get through. About a week ago, they tried again. That bill died. They brought it up again. They're trying a second time. They got it passed in the House a couple of weeks ago. Now, they still have to get it through the Senate, but they got it through the Senate once before, so they're pretty encouraged that they're going to be able to get an Article 5 convention call through the Maryland legislature to become the sixth state to call for an Article 5 convention. So there's things going on around the country that are exciting and very good news. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Cindy Black from Washington State. And Cindy, if you could just introduce yourself briefly and tell us what your organization is, and then tell us how you got it done. You actually got a ballot initiative on the ballot and approved by the voters. Tell us how you did it.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. Well, my name is Cindy Black. I'm the executive director of an organization called Fix Democracy First. Previously, I worked with Wyoming, which was the Washington Coalition to Amend the Constitution. I started as a volunteer with them back in 2014. And so basically what happened with here in Washington State is that after several years of trying to get a resolution or a referendum through our state legislature, we realized it wasn't going anywhere. So we decided to have an initiative. We first did an initiative to the people. We have two types of initiatives that you can do here in Washington State. But you have to collect the same amount of signatures for both. So we first did an initiative to the people in 2014. In Washington State, you have to get 8% of whoever signatures of whoever voted in the last election. So for us, we have to collect somewhere around like 200 and, well, it was when we were collecting like 243,000 valid signatures, which was a big haul. And so we had to collect close to like 320,000 if we wanted to make it onto the ballot. We only got 175,000 our first run. And we decided to regroup and do initiative to the legislature the next year, and starting in 2015, because it gave us a longer period to collect signatures. Even though we had to collect the same, for some reason you get a longer period to collect for that process. So we did that. We ended up collecting over 333,000 valid signatures. 293,000 of those were collected by volunteers. So we had a very high volunteer rate. And then about 40,000 of those were actually collected by paid signature gatherers that Fix Democracy First for I-735 paid for. So that's how we got the signatures. But it was a big haul. I mean, there was a lot of work we had to do. We're a kind of spread out state. We have the majority of people in the western half, and then we have a big part of our rural in the middle and to the west. But we had to collect signatures all over, and we did that through. We had a variety of what we called area captains, team captains that we had in different areas and counties around the state. We had weekly call-in meetings, and that's how we did it. We learned a lot from the first time, so we were better organized for the second time, and we didn't have a lot of money, just like it sounds like you don't have much money. I think a lot of us do this, this type of work on a shoestring budget, and we did not have much money at all. In fact, we were probably one of the lowest budget campaigns in the state's history of an initiative that actually got on the ballot and passed. So we did that on very little money for what most campaigns pay. And the other way we did that for a variety of means. I heard about canvassing. I think that's definitely valuable. We hit up a lot of events. The other good thing about doing initiative to the legislature, we had the entire summer. So we had from around late February, early March to the end of the year. So we had pretty much a good chunk of the year to collect signatures, and we hit a lot of events. We have a big ferry system here in the state, so we would ride the ferry system back and forth at the different ferries. We had people camped out on those. We hit up public transportation. We also recruited as we went. We were always recruiting new volunteers. So we had about 1,700 total volunteers that collected that 293,000 signatures. But I would say the majority of those only sent in like maybe a petition or a partial petition. Most of our signatures were collected by just, I would say, less than 20% of our volunteers. In fact, we had one person who collected over 21,000 signatures just by herself. which was
wow.
incredibly amazing. We think it's a state record, but we don't have any way to prove that. But she just treated it as a job, and she was out there every day. And so that's how we did it, was like really dedicated people. And we were a grassroots-run organization. We did hire some staff to run the campaign. And at the end of the campaign, I was a volunteer for the first initiative and into the second through the signature gathering. And then when we became the election campaign, we couldn't find a manager. And then there was proposed to have the manager stay on as the executive director of Fixed Democracy First. So that appealed to me, and I applied for the job, and I became the manager for 735 at the end of the campaign, and then I stayed on as the director. Before that, I was selling art supplies and had a small business selling art supplies, but had way more passion and interest in doing this work, and so now I do this full time now. And so I'll stop there. That's a lot of information. And if I missed anything or any points you want me to cover, let me know. Okay. And now what we're doing is trying to get people to sign on, obviously, our delegation now that we passed. But we did pass with 63%, and we have 10 congressional districts in the state, and we passed every congressional district. And that includes the conservative districts as well.
So your congressional district, so were you just calling on Congress to do it, or did you also have an Article 5 call?
There is another group in the state, the Wolfpack, the Washington group,
right,
has been working on the Article 5, and they've been spearheading that. Though we support each other's efforts, we haven't been actively working on the Article 5. We've mainly been working on the congressional route. Right,
okay. And there is a live legal issue about whether the citizens can call for Article 5 or not. We are breaching that. We're actually doing both. We're calling on Congress and then asking for an Article 5 convention as well. So we have kind of a hybrid petition going on here. So if anybody has any questions, please press 1 on your keypad and your hand will go up and we can unmute you. I have a question to start off, though, Cindy. Does Washington have a geographic distribution requirement for your petition drive?
No. That's very fortunate for us. I know some states do that. I think Wyoming, right? Don't you have to do certain so much from each jurisdiction? No. It just has to be registered Washington voters, so we can collect them anywhere. And also, too, you don't have to be a registered voter or over 18 to collect signatures. So we had people that were teenagers collecting. We had people that were non-citizens collecting, and people that were former felons collecting that weren't eligible to vote yet. So we had a lot of people, but we didn't have those type of restrictions, fortunately. Thank goodness. That would have made it tough.
Yeah, we do have a geographic distribution requirement in Wyoming, which, being the most sparsely populated state in the lower 48, that makes a big challenge for us. We have to get 15% statewide, not 8%. We have 15%, and to get that 15% in 2/3 of the counties. So we can't just do it all in Laramie and Cheyenne.
So you have to, each county, you have to get 2/3 from each county, basically.
So we have to get 15% in 16 of our 23 counties.
Okay.
So if a couple of counties don't get to the 15%, we have to make up those numbers in other counties. So some counties have to be over 15% to make up for the counties that don't make it to 15%.
Sure.
But 16 of the counties must make it to 15%. The only good thing about this is we have 18 months. But we've been at it for almost a year now.
Okay. Because I was going to say you have 10,000. That's really good. But if you've been collecting for 18 months, I can see how you need to really start getting it into gear. Yes.
We've been collecting for about 10 months, and we have eight months left. So we're about we're a little over halfway through the time period. We've only got a quarter of the thing. So we've got a good start. And a lot of what we were doing in the last 10 months was building the team, and the team is growing, and so we've got some momentum. So I'm pretty sure we're going to get it done, but it's time to do it. So Shelby has his hand raised. Shelby, what's your question?
Oh, I just want to say thanks, Cindy, so much for joining us and giving us this report on a difficult but ultimately successful endeavor. And I think that's a great thing for everybody on the call to hear. One thing I wanted to ask was if you do go to events, I remember we spoke earlier, I think Lynn was also on that conference call and with folks from Montana and Colorado as well that have also had successful ballot initiatives on this issue. What kind of events are good to go to? I remember us talking about potentially gun shows and things like that, big events that, a lot of folks go to. Do you have any comments or thoughts on that?
Yeah, basically, I think that's the thing about signature gathering. You have to go where the people are. So you need to figure out where your events are in Wyoming. Where are your big events? Like we did all the fairs. We were even able to get a table at the state fair. We were limited in walking around, so it wasn't as productive as some events, but we were there and had a presence. We also did parades were very good because especially if you go before the parade when people are just waiting around, you can just start at the beginning and just kind of work your way down the line. That worked very well. And then the other thing I didn't mention before that was very key piece to our campaign that we did the second time around but didn't the first time was that we did it where you when you fold up the petition, there was a blank area where you can mail it back to us. So when we were recruiting people along the way, we had these folded up petitions that you could mail in that people could fill out, get it by their friends and family, and just mail it in. Even if it was just a few signatures, we got a lot of those back in the mail, especially toward the end of the campaign. Like thousands and thousands of signatures came in that way. So I recommend that to campaigns. I don't know if that's something you can do in your state, but we use that as a technique. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we can't do that. It has to be signed in person in front of the circulator. It is really hard to get something on the Wyoming ballot. It's legally possible, but very difficult. The last successful petition drive in Wyoming was 20 years ago.
Wow.
So we have a challenge. We think we're up to it,
yeah.
And we think we're gonna meet the challenge, but it is difficult. It's a big
task.
It
sounds like it. I had a question for you about that. When you say that the circulator, does each petition gatherer have to be certified to collect the signatures?
Yes, the certification is it's either Lynn or Shelby or I have to certify to the state that this is an adult U.S. citizen. That's all they need to do. They don't need to live in Wyoming. They don't need to be registered to vote. They just need to be adult U.S. citizens. We certify them, but then they get when they're done with their petition, they have to go get it notarized. Their signature gets notarized. So basically the notary says the circulator is who the circulator is, and the circulator certifies that I saw all these people sign the petition. So they're very strict about that, so it's kind of difficult.
That is difficult to just recruit a lot of new volunteers, because that's one way we were successful was we were always recruiting new volunteers, and if we found someone was interested, we were able to just give them a petition. But yours has to be notified, which makes it really tough. So.
Well, it's actually not hard. Once we give somebody a petition, we just write their name down and certify them. So the certification process is very simple. So that's not the barrier. The barrier is finding the person who's willing to go around knocking on doors and talking to folks. So Scully has her hand up. I've unmuted Scully. What's your question, Scully?
I actually have a couple of comments and feedback on the way in which I think that it would be effective for us to tie in what Cindy is saying with what we can actually do right now. We had an Albany County meeting yesterday, and there were a couple people who have just become circulators as of the last month when we had the first meeting that I had chaired and got 3 new circulators. So we are gaining momentum there. And one of them suggested there's a March for Our Lives thing happening in Laramie, Wyoming. Yeah, Saturday, tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. and it's at First Street Plaza, the place that's next to Coal Creek, the downtown one. But there was also a number of other suggestions, like the Democratic Convention that's happening April 21st, which unfortunately I think we missed the Republican Convention, and that's actually something that's severely not great for us, considering our need to be as nonpartisan as we are. Like when we go to things that are more coded for Democratic or progressive leaning people, it ends up creating optics that we don't really want. But that is happening on the 21st. There's also a Carbon Power and Light Luncheon happening sometime in June. I don't know the exact date at the moment, but that is a thing that I haven't ever really experienced it, but people at the meeting mentioned that there can be up to hundreds of people in attendance for the Carbon Power and Light Luncheon that's happening in June. And there's like Art in the Lawn in the Plains Museum in July. One of our people, New Circulators, Bill McKay, suggests going to veterans associations and talking to, people who have fought for our country on either side of the party lines and have a bond that transcends and recognizes the severe problem we are encountering with Citizens United and the decisions the consequences that have come from that decision. So there's also the suggestion of maybe, I don't know how plausible it would be for us, but Wren magazine, WREN, we could potentially put an article, maybe even like Al Simpson's letter, or Bill McKay is in contact with Teens Wilford, who's a former legislator. So if you have any connections to people in legislature or Senate right now, it would be a good time to send out letters to the editor and get feedback directly from them. And I think those are all of the events that I have at the moment. But yeah, also the State Fair in Wyoming. We could totally go there. I believe it's in Douglas each year.
Yeah, I think we looked into that last year, and we got kind of a late start on it. So it might be the time now to start planning for that. And there was a question about can you get insurance. I'm not sure why we need insurance. I think they need insurance for people who sell food, but we're not selling food. We're just getting people signed. So we should investigate that, and we can do that at the state central committee level.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking, right now, I forgot to mention in our notes, we also had talked about Freedom Has a Birthday and whether we have gotten on to getting a booth for that.
Right. We did that last year and got a lot of signatures, so we'll probably do it again this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Cindy,
now would probably be the time.
Yeah.
Sorry, now would probably be the time to look into that now as well.
Right, yes. We need to get on that for sure. If anybody else has any questions, please raise your hand. I have one last question for Cindy, and unless anybody else has a question to add on. Cindy, how many signatures did you get from door-to-door canvassing versus going to events? Do you know?
We didn't do a lot of canvassing. We didn't have to do that. We might have had some of our volunteers canvass their own neighborhoods and things like that, but that wasn't a concerted effort. We did more canvassing when it was the get out the vote time. That's when we did more canvassing at that point. Okay. I do want to add that if you have any Indivisible or Our Revolution groups, they tend to be very supportive, and they might be folks that can help you out as well. Our Indivisible wasn't around when we were doing it, but Our Revolution has been helpful.
Right. Yeah, and we have made contact. We have several Indivisible groups in Wyoming, and they have been very supportive, and they are working with us. A lot of the people who are in those groups are also volunteers for us, too, so there's a lot of synergy going on between those kinds of groups. So that's been very useful for us. And it seems to me, and this is for the benefit of the group as much as it is for Cindy, I think that as it's great to focus on and start with all the events, but we're going to get to a point here midsummer or early summer even, that we're starting to realize that we're going to be coming up short in particular areas. And so once we start getting fuller numbers in, we have a couple of counties right now that are almost done, almost gotten to their goals right now. Buffalo, Johnson County is almost done, and Albany County is very close too. So those counties, we're going to finish those counties up. Then we might want to have those folks go out, if they still want to work on the project, go in the neighboring counties and start going door to door. So we know, for example, we have almost no organization in Carbon County, right next door to Albany County. So we may need to start doing walk lists and going door to door in Rawlins and some of the nearby towns that are adjacent counties. So I'm thinking that we will need to be doing some door-to-door canvassing just to make sure we get enough counties up to that 15% number. And we might start doing that in smaller counties where you can take a team in for a weekend or a couple of weekends and knock out the entire county in a couple of weekends. But the best way to do that, I think, is going to be door-to-door. So we need to start preparing and thinking about how we're going to do those kinds of canvasses.
Are you able to do? Are you able to canvass outside grocery stores and post offices and things like that?
Oh yeah.
Well? Great.
Yeah, as long as the property owner gives it permission.
Yeah, we got a lot of signatures canvassing grocery stores, and when it was busy at the busy times at the post office too.
Oh yeah, yeah. We have a provision in the Wyoming Constitution that says the right of people to petition shall not be infringed. So we have some good law there on our side, and yeah, we do that kind of stuff. It's worked pretty well. Margie Farias has her hand up. Margie, what's your question?
Hi, thank you, Cindy, for all of your information. I'm curious how you persuaded people to volunteer. You said you were constantly getting new volunteers. I have 2 more circulators as of this past week or 2, which is great, but I also lost a couple. So I'm wondering, how did you persuade people?
Well, usually if people were very excited about the issue, they were ready to help, so there wasn't a lot of persuasion that we had to do. I mean, the reality about gathering signatures, you deal with a lot of no's before you get a yes. That's our experience anyway. Sometimes you go to more friendly areas and you get a lot more yeses. But we found that if somebody was already excited and interested in the issue and knew about it, it was really easy to say, hey, would you be willing to collect some signatures for us or gather them from? And, you'd always usually get a handful of folks, in the course of a day doing that would be willing to take a petition or even come to an event and become a, full-blown signature gatherer. So it just depended on the person, but we always, encourage them to say, hey, this is a volunteer, we're a grassroots effort. That went over really well. The fact that we weren't paid signature gatherers, we used that to our advantage. All of those things helped us recruit new people.
Okay, thanks. I have a question for Ken. Could you explain again about the 16 counties that if some of them don't reach their 15% goal, we can draw from other counties? Is that right? Is that what you said?
Yeah. So there are 23 counties in Wyoming.
Right.
2/3 of those counties must get to their 15%, right? Which means that's 16. So 16 counties have to get 15%. That means 7 didn't get to the 15%, but we still have the 15% statewide requirement. So whatever signature we didn't get in those counties, we have to get in other counties to make sure that we get the statewide total of 15%. It's a math problem. Okay. So if every county gets to 15%, we're good. But we are pretty sure that several counties will not make it to 15%. So we need to make up whatever they're short has to be made up in other counties. So that's why we're trying to get several counties over 15% so that we can have some flexibility if we don't get every county up to the 15% number. We don't have teams in every county, and some of these counties are very small and very rural. It's going to be hard to get teams going there. So we know that we're going to need to get over 15% in the counties where we have strong teams, like Fremont County, for example. Wink, wink.
All right.
Okay.
I'm not even quite halfway yet. Anyway, I've had
you're farther along than County. You're doing really well up there. You're doing fantastic work, and you're going to get there, I know, and maybe we can get over. So we're going to keep on going even when you get to 15%.
All right, we'll give it a try.
Okay, thanks. All right, not seeing any other hands up, so at this point, Cindy, thank you so much for all your work. Scully has a comment or question. Scully, go ahead.
Hey, so comment. In terms of trying to reach out to more people to circulate specifically, I think targeting colleges and going to the unions of places and just hanging out there for a while and talking to people, even if they're not registered voters, which a lot of college age kids or people aren't. We could talk to them about circulating and then also registering to vote and signing and being yet another person who has their voice toward this pretty important issue. So I know a lot of counties don't have colleges, but those that do can reach out and get a lot more people to then be able to go to other counties and circulate to the areas that we have, because we have our circulation works a little bit differently than just going to the neighborhoods and knocking on every door, because we do have the van system that targets specific voters who voted in the 2016 election who, are their addresses and their a map of that area.
Right.
Yeah, who haven't yet signed. Exactly.
Haven't yet signed.
Yeah.
So the walk list
and we also have
will be just people who are registered to vote and have not yet signed. Those who have signed won't be on your list.
Right, and it also includes information on whether they'd be interested in volunteering. So if we do come across people who know about it and are ready to sign and are interested, then we could also put it in our system that we want to contact them later and add them to our list of people who are interested in becoming circulators, who can then do more work toward this and get it done.
Yep. And we do have a student intern from UW who is helping to communicate with the students here in Laramie, and we're hoping to be able to recruit some circulators, canvassers for over the summer based on the local student body. And she's doing great work to get us connected up with the student population here in Laramie. Okay, again, Cindy, thank you so much. You're welcome to listen in on the rest of the call if you'd like, but at this point, I want to open it up to questions, comments, and mostly I want to hear from some of the county people who have plans to share with what's going on in other places. So what we do have we need to start really gearing up and getting going. We haven't seen a lot of new numbers showing up on our database over the last couple of weeks. I know that the weather's been not terrific, but it's now time to get out there and get going. So what are your plans, people? What are you hoping to be able to do? I know we have those couple of public events in Cody and in Sheridan coming up. We're going to get some signatures there, but what else is going on? Not seeing any volunteers. Okay, a couple of people, Mike and Kathy. So, Mike and Kathy, what's going on over in Sublette?
No, it's actually
Sweetwater. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sweetwater. No, we have excuse me, I'm having a sneezing fit right now. But we have our county convention coming up. We hope to get some signatures there.
Right.
So then, of course, our state convention. And, the summer is when we start having our public activities. Plus, we can walk the streets better because it's not 20 below and treacherous footing.
Right.
So we're hoping to improve. Excuse me. Also, it interested me. I'm going to have to look at the Wyoming Constitution because I went to our manager, the only grocery store in Green River, and he said he would rather we not, pass a petition. So maybe if I show him the Wyoming Constitution, he might change his mind.
Yeah, that's private property, though. So I think if you're on public property, you're standing in the park, you're standing in front of the post office, you're standing on public property, they really can't stop you. Private property, they might be able to. So you got to be a little careful with private property. We always try to ask permission when we do it in Laramie, and frequently we get it, but.
Right, but given the Constitution, he might give permission. I'm not. If he says no, I'm not doing it. But
good.
The point of this is not to make enemies.
Right, exactly. We want them to vote yes later on too, so we don't want to be obnoxious and get people mad at us.
Right, but that's all we have going on. I mean, I think I missed an opportunity at the Nellie Taylor Ross. I didn't carry the petition around with me at all times and didn't get any signatures there. I did get one, but
okay.
Yeah.
Although a lot of the people at that dinner probably had already signed.
90%, yeah, but
yeah, right.
Never miss an opportunity.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. I see Lois Peterson has her hand up. Lois, you're unmuted. What's going on up in Johnson County?
We also have a county convention that's scheduled for Saturday, so we'll have the petition there for that. And I know there's some people that have. Most of the people probably have signed it, but maybe not all of them. And hopefully we can recruit some other people who are willing to take around some petitions there. As far as the grocery stores, if you ask, we've done the grocery stores, and we'll probably do them again. And other businesses, if you ask them and they're willing to have you even be outside, that's really a great place. I concur with the others that that's a great place to get things. But also events that have nothing to do with politics. I went to the senior center was having a pancake supper. It's a fundraiser for the senior center. The director there said, yeah, go ahead and go. And I went table to table while people were eating, and lots of people signed there. So, it doesn't have to be a political event. It can be just any place where there's people. And I usually just take my pin where I took it to the health fair. We have a health fair in town. I took my pin and I took my petition, and I kind of just went around casually and said, have you had a chance to sign this? And I didn't ask anybody's permission for that because it was not necessary to do that. And I got several signatures there. So those are places that I truly believe that going to the events is the way to go. So that's what we've been concentrating on, and it's been pretty successful. But however, most of our volunteers have lost a little of their steam, so a lot of that's been, just a few of us doing it now.
Right. And pretty successful, I have to say. You're the leader in the clubhouse right now. You're 76% of the way to your goal. And second place is Albany County at 66%, but you guys are knocking it out of the park, and you're doing great work. Keep it up. You're going to be the first county to get to the goal, but also then maybe you want to keep on going because we do want to get more than just the goal in a number of counties. So thank you for all your work. It's been fantastic. Margie Farias has her hand up. Margie,
hi.
Hi.
I want to know if Johnson County can come down here and help. I'm just kidding.
It makes it for you.
What's that?
I said it makes a really big difference if the people know you. That's been really helpful because I'm a member of a lot of volunteer organizations, and so a lot of people know me and they trust a person that they know even if they don't understand exactly the whole issue.
Sure. Okay, I've had 2 meetings in the last week, one in Riverton, one in Lander, to try and build a fire underneath my circulators here, and it seems to be working. People seem really excited. I picked up a couple new circulators. Like I told you a few minutes ago, I lost a couple too, mostly due to sickness. I'm hoping that people are going to put their money where their mouth is and actually get out and canvass. They say they are going to. I'm hoping to do that this weekend if it doesn't snow, although that is the forecast. I had a circulator who's a somewhat renowned artist here in Lander who has suggested doing a what's called a quick draw, and he hopes to recruit maybe 2 or 3 other artists who will do a piece, like an hour-long piece, painting or whatever, and perhaps then have a drawing afterwards from people who have signed the petition that day. I don't know exactly how it would work, but it might draw some people to, the park where they're doing their paintings. Of course, wait till the weather's good, and hopefully that would get some new people out there who haven't already signed. I'm starting to get a lot of duplicates, just because we tend to circulate in the same type of crowds. But I've got a question about the state Democratic convention is supposed to be here in Lander this year in June, and I'm wondering if you think, tabling there, which I've got a feeling they would be happy with us doing that, whether or not, I'm going to be getting a lot of people from different counties. Do you think that's a good idea?
Oh, yeah. I think it's a great idea, particularly because you're going to have people from all over the state. There's not going to be any Republicans in there watching us to make sure to complain that we're being partisan, because it's going to be all Democrats there. So I don't think that's a problem. And if the Republicans would let us do that at their convention, I want to go there too. It's not because I don't want to go there because it's a Democratic convention. I want to go there because it's people who are probably registered voters who are interested in public policy, and I'd be happy to go to the Republican convention too if we can get permission. We've made some outreaches to the local Republicans and haven't really gotten very far with them.
Oh. Do you know where their convention is going to be this year?
I do not know that. But if we could find out, I'd love to ask them and see if we can get permission.
The only other thing I have to add is I've got a new place to add to the where to sign that I'll let Shelby know. I'm supposed to get that secured tomorrow morning, and I also wanted to know if Shelby had gotten my email about needing some more petition packets.
This is Shelby, and yes, I do have that, and I'm getting that sent off to you immediately, ASAP. We are doing another brochure run as well, and I was going to see if the time frame for those two things lined up, but it looks like I'll do 2 separate packages to you. And, of course, anytime anybody needs anything, more petitions, brochures, buttons, any of that stuff, let me know. Feel free to email me or at info@wyomingpromise.org, and I'll get that stuff to you ASAP. I think just to make a point here, this is a mostly 99.9 volunteer effort, and of course, Ken and I working at the University of Wyoming, I got slammed at a left and right field this week and didn't expect that, and I know Ken's busy this semester on stuff, but we're going to make as much time as we can and do everything that you folks need from us. So please just don't hesitate to ask if you ever need anything, and we'll get on it. Right now is a little slow, but as the semester winds down, I think we'll be able to definitely hype things up on our end too. So Margie, I'll definitely get those things to you ASAP.
Okay, thank you. I have one last real quick question.
Sure.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just curious, is Gary Trauner on the list as a supporter for the website?
Yes, he has already given us permission to use his name, but as I said, we haven't put the list up yet because we want to have we don't want to have 2 people on the list or 3 people on the list, and they're all Democrats. So we want to make sure we have enough, a wide enough selection of people to show that this is a nonpartisan effort. And we do expect to get a number of Republicans. We have one Republican already that said yes, they'll be on the list. So we only have 4 or 5 people to put on the list right now, and that we want a bigger number before we make the list public. But he is one of the ones who is very vocally in favor of what we're trying to do.
And if you do look at our website, we do have that tab set up, supporters, leaders, candidates, and things like that. We're getting that organized here at the statewide level. Rod Morrison is a Republican candidate running in the primary against Liz Cheney, and is extremely supportive of this effort. So if you don't know anything about Rod Morrison, check him out and see what he's talking about and what he has to offer. I think it's a great cross-partisan effort that's going on.
Yeah, it's not Rod Morrison, because that's Lynn's husband.
Sorry.
Rob
Miller.
Morris, is it? Miller. Yeah, Rob
No.
Miller. There it is. Yeah, Rob Miller.
Miller.
Okay, a couple quick questions. We're getting close to the hour here. I have a couple more hands up I want to get to quickly. So Carol Jean Bongo from Cheyenne, you're unmuted. Go ahead, Carol.
Hi there. I just wanted to let you guys know that we've been cleared to have a table at the Democratic Convention here in Cheyenne on May 5th.
Good.
And I've been also thinking a lot about getting into Republican events, and I know that we have a couple of Republican petitioners here in Cheyenne, and we need to talk with them about how we can get into some Republican events, but I think that's essential. Especially, we can say, Al Simpson is on our team, and we've got more Republican signatures than we do Democrats, but there's, of course, more Republicans. Starting in the summer here, June through August, we've got Friday night concerts at the Depot Plaza. We have the Summer Farmers Market, but we're trying to find events that are starting to come up now, but there's not a lot yet.
Right, and you might want to try and talk to Dan Zwanitzer about getting into some Republican events, because he is the chair of the House Corporations Committee. He's the guy who got it voted through his committee last year. So he is supporting what we're doing. He can't be quite as much out front as he might otherwise like to, because he does have a leadership position as a committee chairman. But behind the scenes, he might be very happy to give you some ideas of people to talk to and get you some introductions in the Republican circles. So I'd recommend talking to Dan.
Okay. One other quick question. Are we going to have another chance to get in front of the legislature, or are we done with them?
No. We're done for this year because we can't get in front of them. We tried to get on the interim agenda for the Corporations Committee, but it didn't work. So what we're going to do now is just have an individual or a group of supporters. I think we have several ideas now of who might be sponsors for a bill, and come January, we'll put it back in front of them, and hopefully at that point we'll have 50,000 signatures behind us and say, now you got to pay attention to us. So we're definitely going to make another effort in January in the legislature.
Is there any point of educating people like Senator Scott that what we're doing is not in violation of the First Amendment? Or is that a lost cause?
I think Charlie Scott's a lost cause, but there are other people we could be talking to, and we will be making those efforts. And for other people on the call, if you know your legislators, talk to them about this, talk it up, and get it going. There's going to be a few people that are going to be deaf to everything we try and tell them. Charlie Scott's one of those deaf people, I think. But yeah, we should be trying to work with any legislator who has an open mind and will listen to you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And Lynn Horton, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you for that correction, Ken, regarding Rob Miller running against Liz Cheney instead of my husband. I know there's a lot of times he doesn't say things to me, but, man, that gives me quite a scare.
Shelby, I apologize. I just had I saw your name and got it mixed up, so I apologize.
That's all right. I don't need a pacemaker yet. I've just a few, dips in my giddy up and my heart rhythm there. Anyway, so my focus right now in Park County is to launch this event which I think is going to be very exciting. And first of all, thank you, Ken, for being able to attend and be part of the panel discussion. I think it's going to be very exciting, and I encourage any of the team leaders from other counties, if you'd like to attend, I would definitely encourage that, and you're certainly free to call me, and I'll try to arrange housing if that's an issue for people. So out of that, what I'm going to do is I've signed up, probably another 5 volunteer circulators. And so those are new people, and so I'm going to use this event as a way, of course, to gather signatures from people that are coming to listen. And then out of that, what I'd like to do is see where we're at in Park County, and then with the assistance of Scully, put together lists so that we can start canvassing. So my goal is for us to, number one, start, do this event in April. Then the weather is going to, continue to get better and more cooperative. Start canvassing in May, and then canvass over the next several months. And then what I've had issues with is finding another team leader. I need to have another team leader. I have people that are willing to be petition circulators, but I haven't found a team leader yet. So to lead with me. So those are the things I'm currently working on in Park County. The other thing is that I work actually out of town, and I work in Niobrara County, which is a very, very low populated county, but we could get signatures in Niobrara County, and it could count as one of the 16 counties, and certainly help us towards, the goal, because even if it doesn't make the 15% threshold, it's still helping towards the goal, right?
Right, it is. But
yeah.
I think because it's such a small county, it should be fairly easy to take a team in there for a couple of weekends and canvass hard for a couple of weekends to get it done. You only need 200 signatures there.
Right,
exactly. That should be fairly easily doable. Right.
So one of the things that I'm doing with my job is I've just made some changes that'll be happening in May, where I work several days in a row, and then I get one day off, and then I work another several days in a row. And so my goal with that is that one day, I can't really be gathering signatures while I'm actively working. So my goal is that on that one day off, I can be gathering signatures. But I would encourage other team leaders who say, you've got the requisite number of signatures, for your county, that to keep the momentum going, that you keep in touch with the steering committee and then look into starting to go into the other counties to help those efforts as well. I think that's going to be something that we're going to have to move towards as we get into summer and then into fall, over the last, say, 4 months of petition gathering, that to keep I'm sure there'll be people that are volunteers that say, hey, I got my 100 signatures. I'm really happy. I put in a good effort. I'm ready to let go of this. But then there's other people, and those are people that I think we need to identify, that are really excited. They got the signatures, and now they're hungry for something else. We need to be able to recognize and identify those people, tap into those people, put them together as a group to go into other counties that don't have the representation of the volunteer circulators. And then the last thing I just want to mention, this is a crazy idea, but it's a crazy campaign, so it's good to think out of the box. I had this crazy idea that if somebody had an RV, no matter what size, could be a little, Airstream or what have you, that we could actually take around the state, and it could be like a mobile going around and gathering signatures from all over the state. We are a small town with long streets, and so something like that would go around the state, that would be recognized, that we could help to promote and market, could be a great way of gaining attention to our cause and helping to gather signatures.
Great
That's
idea.
it.
Okay. It's getting late. We've actually gone over the hour. There's two more hands up, and I want to get to those really quickly. Melody Nielsen and Scully both have their hands up. So let's hear from Melody real quickly. Melody, you're unmuted. What's your comment?
Okay, I'll make it fast. I just wanted to let you know that, of course, you know I'm with Wyoming Progressive. And this is something that we are, as well as being leader for Wyoming Promise. So the thing is that we will be doing I think at least 3 to 4 town halls this summer. And this is where we're going to have local people who are running for local legislation or for the House or for city council or whatever. We'll be doing town halls on them as well as for the state town halls. Everybody will be invited to those, especially the state town halls. They always are. And now we'll have Rod Miller. He'll be one of the people we'll invite to run against Cheney. She'll be invited also. So sort of hoping that everybody will turn out for that. And I know that at Wyoming Promise we'll have a table. And we will be getting our signatures there. Last year I did excellent on that. And this is also where you find out from who is our representatives, where they belong. I know Dan Zwanswitter, whatever his name, how you pronounce his last name. Yeah, last year he signed, and so did Bird. And so we got all of our names I got the names last year. This year I know that Ryan Lindsay is running now, and he's already said he would sign a document on it. There's so many people who have already started, and this is where we will find out what they're going to do to see if they'll sign or not and how they feel. And we'll do this at the town hall. People can come and ask questions. So things will come to light then over the summer. But I just wanted to inform you that we're planning, it's not, we haven't got dates set yet, but that's something in the plan.
Yes. Thank you. That's a great opportunity. And give the last word to Scully. Scully, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Okay, really quickly, I just wanted to we had the Albany County meeting.
Scully, I'm sorry, I accidentally remuted you by mistake, so please start over again. You're open again.
No worries. Okay, quickly. So one, I'm happy to build turfs for Park County and get it to where in May you can start getting circulators to come out and go full force. That I can definitely have that done for you, Lynn. And also I can start cutting some Niobrara. I always get that pronounced wrong. I believe Niobrara. I can also cut some turfs for that so that the long streets can be maybe more manageable. And then also the last point is I think it would be really effective for people to have weekly meetings or I personally have the time and attention right now for monthly meetings that have still been really successful. So biweekly or weekly, however much you can do. But if you put that also in a briefings in a local newspaper, then it gets out to a lot of people, and that's always a way, even if you lose some, that might be helpful for, like Margie, you were mentioning other things. I know you have multiple meetings already, so I don't mean to demean the work that you have already done. I just mentioned that in general, for especially the teams that we're trying to get started, a way to get them motivated would be to encourage them toward that. So those are my last points. Thank you to everybody who has come on and done the epic work that we're doing. It's really important.
Yes, thank you, Scully. So I think we can go ahead and end the call now. I'll unmute Shelby. Shelby, any last words?
No, just thanks to everybody for everything you're doing, and keep in touch, and let's keep in mind we got to ramp it up and get this done. In all honesty, this is something that, of course, is important to the citizens of Wyoming, but the nation is watching us too. And if we do it here, it's going to be a sea change across the nation. So let's step it up. And thank you for all your volunteer effort and time. I know it's a lot of time, but keep the faith. We're going to make this happen. So thank you all.
Yes, and with that, I'll add my thanks to everybody that's been on the call. And keep it up. We'll be in touch. We're going to keep doing these meetings every couple of weeks just to keep in touch with each other and bring you all the latest breaking news. So thank you all, and we'll see you down the road.